Philip Virgo. Philip is the founder and now vice chairman of the Conservative Technology Forum. He has been involved in government technology for more years than he would probably care to admit. Philip is also a blogger on Computer Weekly and posts some very interesting discussion posts on there, which I would certainly encourage you to read. Philip's asked me to point out that although the bodies here representing is the Conservative Technology Forum, the subjects he's talking about, especially because of PERDA, are politically neutral and apply across all parties. Philip, over to you.
Okay. Fine. Well, when I was agreed to speak, way before, I was asked as Conservative Technology Forum, but it being PERDA, I should be wearing any of the other hats, but the slides never got altered, so that's why things are as they are. This proposal, well, I should say right at the very beginning, last time I spoke to Socitm was somewhere over a decade ago, when it was a rather different animal, perhaps in the doldrums. I was therefore absolutely delighted with the news of the update of the new services and so on that are coming about. And this speech is actually about trying to add another new service to your shopping list. I've been involved in the politics of IT for rather a long time, and my role now is not actually to do anything, it's to try and get you and your successors make a better job of handling the issues than we have done over the past 20 years or so. We helped create the hash you're in at the moment, you've got to try and sort it out. So here are a few ideas from the past. I'm going to say something about the challenges that complicate the transition from the current mishmash of increasingly fragile legacy communications networks that we've got to a resilient data mesh that's fit for societies that depend and die without online access. Then I'm going to build on the strategy paper that was released by DCMS and Treasury in parallel with the budget, which recognised that one size does not fit all, and I will commend the way that our ancestors funded the infrastructures on which we still depend today. That leads through to your role as members and supporters of Socitm. First, hang on a minute, that's moved. Interlocking challenges. First, the challenges with which you're only too well aware. They're not going to get any easier, regardless of who wins the election. Indeed, the current collapse of sterling and the strike of overseas investors reflects fears that they're actually going to get worse with a weak government in thrall to Scottish tooth fairy economics. But mortgaging the future yet further is no longer a serious option. We have to adopt programs of incremental change. The only bit I disagree with Mark is I dropped the R from revolution. If you want real change, evolution, because revolution merely means, as in Animal Farm, that the pigs take over from the men. So programs of incremental change, using savings from each phase to fund the next. We have to use cooperation across organisational boundaries to pool budgets and deliver better services at lower cost, where I thoroughly agree with Mark. We have to transition to robust interoperability standards at all levels to improve choice, preserve flexibility, and avoid getting trapped in a very expensive IPv4 dead end. That future will not be based on simply extending legacy networks like BT's 21st century network, conceived 30 years ago to deliver broadcast quality video to the home by 2002. The internet is a network of networks, linking evolutionary technologies and architectures via common protocols and peering points. The UK has a surprising variety of networks which currently communicate via a relatively small number of choke points. As we move towards an age of local internet exchanges to handle the volume and resilience required for smart buildings, cities, grids, the network maps of the UK will morph from the current set of overlapping spiders' webs towards a relatively seamless mesh. Now, I apologise for the resolution of this, which is one of the diagrams from the Digital Communications Infrastructure Strategy document released with the budget, which is well worth reading. Because, and I should ask a question, how many of you have actually read that DCIS strategy? I do recommend you read it. It's something of a revolution. It illustrates just how far thinking has actually moved since this time last year. In section 2.2, it quotes consultants expecting to demand for data traffic to double every other year from 2012 to 2017. In fact, it has more than doubled over the past 12 months. It's accelerating. It would be growing even faster, but for the lack of capacity at peak times. And I particularly commend this particular diagram, if you can find it, which shows that different industries and applications have different needs for speed, latency, reliability, and resilience. And the overall conclusion of the strategy paper is that business already needs fibre to the premises, although consumers might be able to manage, those at least who are within a kilometre of the cabinet, manage with fibre to the cabinet for the next 4 to 5 years. That report also announced that Virgin's £3 billion investment programme is underwritten from the Treasury's £40 billion infrastructure fund, and it contains an invitation to others to bid. That leads me to the need to look at those who are going to put up most of the money. Those who call for a national strategy seem to appear that the incumbent operators are going to pay for bottleneck removal and network build, while new entrants undermine their revenues using newer technologies to deliver better services at lower cost. Our ancestors made no such mistake. The Georgian canals and the Victorian railways were funded by consortia of landlords and businessmen who expected to benefit from rising property prices and falling transport costs for the raw materials and produce as they fought to bypass the bottlenecks of their day. Similar investment models funded the gas, water, electricity, and the early telegraph and telephone companies. The role of national, as opposed to local government, was confined to contracts to transition the mails from road to rail. Interoperability standards, from boat widths through railway gauges to telegraph codes, were essential to success, just as they are with the internet. But the success of the UK in creating the world's most connected and competitive industries, and thus becoming the workshop of the world, was attributable to municipal enterprise and competition between cities. The Victorians would not have expected Westminster to choose between Heathrow and Gatwick. They'd have backed both, leaving them to buy off the opposition. Over the past year, we've seen an explosion of local partnerships, some hand in glove with local government and suppliers and customers, but many mere talking shops. So what we've got is 3 overlapping requests that I had. The first, to produce material to help council leaders understand the issues and exercise thought leadership. Easier said than done. The second, to help suppliers stop wasting time with those who want to seem to be active but aren't serious about helping their partners cut cost and risk. Easier done than said. and the third to produce guidance material to help both groups achieve results without getting bogged down with the ego games of putting service before politics. Hence the proposal on the sheets you've got for Plan B, using the production of a dummies guide to collaboration, described in the handout, to achieve the first three objectives on this slide. And of course the core question is, what is the role of Socitm? I think the answer should be a no-brainer. As part of your resurgence and your services, you should be part of the core collaboration to produce such guidance material. Thank you.
Thank you for our lightning speakers for speaking at lightning pace. They have managed to get in within the time to give us an opportunity to take one or two questions from the audience. If you want to pose a question to an individual or put a question to the whole panel, that's fine. Any volunteers for following up on some of the issues that have raised? I'm sure, particularly around both Philip's challenge to Socitm to take a lead around broadband issues. I'm sure open data is something many of you are facing as well. Be brave, whoever wants to be the first person to put their hand up. Come on, you want to. Be brave. Surely somebody in this room. There we go. Thank you very much. So wait for the mic coming along.
Thank you. My question really was for Verizon about identity. We talked about the two factors of what you know and what you own, but we didn't mention the what you are. And I just wondered how far away are we from biometrics to identify the individual? Because sometimes I forget my tokens, sometimes I haven't got my phone, but I've always got my fingerprints.
Okay. I don't know if Ali is still here. Verizon is actually on this panel. That was on the previous bit. I don't know if Ali is still here. If you want to just perhaps just pick that up quickly.
Yeah. Hi. Oh, sorry. Yeah, we do that as well. We have what you are. That's the third factor of authentication. We're looking at all sorts of biometrics, and we implement that for different government agencies. Certainly, we implement that in the US. So that's certainly another factor. I can take it offline and talk in more detail if you want.
Okay, thanks, guys. Any questions then for the three most recent speakers? Have you got one over there? Great, thank you. Apologies, I was looking to the left. Don't read anything into that.
I just wanted to join together Eddie's talk and Lucy's talk. So Eddie was talking about open data across multiple local authorities, and Lucy working in Devon Council, County Council, which actually I think joins together a couple of local authorities as well. So wondering how those two things overlap and experiences from there.
Sorry, Pete, so your question was what?
Any experiences? So you were talking about data across multiple local authority boundaries, and how from the outside you want to be able to draw that across.
Well, I think with
local authorities and Lucy from within Devon.
Well, I think so. The point I was trying to make is that certainly if we're trying to engage the app developer community, it's great if we can have just a larger scale. And you see cities like Leeds, I know, doing this incredibly well with Leeds and Data Mill. I think there are other cities as well where you're getting progress. What I did see certainly when I started writing my report, that was that a lot of local authorities wanted to have that control with their own data portal. And we've got a hodgepodge right now, as you'll know, with sort of data.gov.uk. London, I think local authorities, again, trying to do a bit more collectively. I'd just like to see a little bit more thinking about, are there better ways that we can join up that data, come up with some common standards to make it as easy as possible for a viable business model. In terms of more specifics, would you like to come in?
Yeah. I think Devon's probably got the same thing going on as most councils. If we talk about a data store, we are talking about just data that relates to what's within our own boundary. But we are a two-tier authority, so of course we've got 8 districts. And for me, would be immensely valuable to get all districts talking to us as well, because a lot of the data that people are wanting is at that level. It is parks and toilets and planning at that level, environmental health and that sort of thing. So those are the requests we tend to get. In terms of trying to join up outside, I think that would be fascinating. I think that would be great to approach even just our nearest geographic neighbours and just say to New Somerset, Dorset, Cornwall, and even we could just get like a southwest thing going on. But really to be of true value, if you want an app that is going to be a major seller, you are talking about national data, and my personal preference would be to step back from that and say, this is not a job for any one council to try and fix this. This is a job for something like the LGA, who've got their LGA Inform tool, and to say, actually, can we just give everything to you? And you sort that in the same way that you currently do with the benchmarking performance information that we give. Because they've already got that mechanism, that infrastructure, that tool set up. I don't think this is something that individual councils should be trying to create. I think we should just step back and say, if we all agree to put our data in the same place in the same standard format, then someone else can put that together and make some use of it.
Actually, if I could just give one example, sorry, that has just occurred to me. Some of you, certainly those who are living in London, may be familiar with Appy parking, where there was a guy called, I think it's Dan Huppert, who'd gone round trying to join up, take all the parking data, all the parking regulations from every single London borough, and created a brilliant app which was really popular. But he relied on local authorities, London boroughs, giving him that data. Halfway through this process, he was looking for investment and then suddenly called me, because I'd interviewed him about something unrelated before, and said, help, some of the London boroughs are now saying that they want to create their own parking app just for their borough and now won't give me their data. You had a guy there who was building something on a London scale, on a city scale, something that was genuinely useful at his own financial risk, and his entire business model was being undone because a local authority wanted to do it for one borough, and people frankly do not live and work and live out their lives in one local authority area. I put him on to Heather Savoury at the Open Data User Group. She bashed some heads together, and thankfully he's now a tremendous success story. But that is an example of where we've got to get the scale and make sure we don't have missing pieces of the jigsaw.
Could I pick up on that? Because I've talked about collaboration in the context of broadband and pulling through there. But the issues of collaboration apply across all cooperation in local government. And the core thing, and one of the things on the case studies of success in local government, is a wonderful phrase that progress begins after the ego has landed. Everybody talks about leadership, the Führerprinzip. In local government, we've got far too many egos and far too many leaders and far too many things collapse because you try to get everybody together. The core to success on collaboration appears to be getting small groups that achieve critical mass of those who actually want to cooperate. And when I'm talking about the Dummy's Guide to Collaboration, I'm thinking in one context, but within Socitm, there are decades of experience of collaborations that worked and collaborations that failed, and the critical success factors. And one of the critical success factors appears to be a project leader who's had a charisma bypass. They give the ego and the leadership roles to whoever wants them, provided they work together and leave the team to get on with the job. Hence my view that it's really critical to harvest the knowledge that is within Socitm on how to actually make collaborations work, because otherwise none of them succeed, and we're never going to actually get the 30% and more savings from collaboration that enable us to avoid cuts, building on Mark's comments earlier.
Thank you, speakers. I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up the session there.